Welcome back, everybody, to the humbly and originally named Pat Flynn Show. We are here once again with the mighty Hebrew hammer himself, Aleks Salkin. I know that intro gets you pumped up, Aleks. How you doing?
Jazzed beyond belief. I'm doing great.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about, this will be a short practical episode. We're going to talk about, frankly, something that a lot of people find boring. I get that, but it's still important. And that is, two things, mobility and warm-ups. So, one second. Excuse me, pardon me. So, hold on, Alex. I'm getting a slight echo reverb. I don't know if that's on your end. Oh, well, forget it. So I remember, like, when I first started getting the kettlebells, right, I had this kettlebell instructor who was, like, kind of not a big fan of warm-ups, and he always used that cliche of, how you going to get warmed up when you get punched in the face? But then I kind of realized, well, that doesn't
moronic analogy.
That doesn't really happen very often, especially not in the gym. And even in my younger, more limber years, there were a number of times when I just tweaked stuff or just didn't perform as well because I was just a little too lazy or haphazard about just the most general prep work. So over time, I really came to appreciate the value, not just in terms of safety, but performance of having at least a good minimalist warm-up routine in place. And having other, separate minimalist mobility routines as well. So, Aleks, why don't you start off by just giving us a little bit of your philosophy of warm-ups and mobility routines in general?
Well, first and foremost, I don't think they need to be all that complicated. I see a lot of stuff floating around on the World Wide Web about, all this stuff. I think basically my approach to it is that one of the things to keep in mind is that exercise is like movement distilled down into like very specific categories. So you think like push, pull, that sort of thing. These are general categories that we like distill into specific exercises. So number one, I think it's useful to be a little bit more general at first with your warm up. So I think that getting your body to move the way that it was made to move is always very useful. This is one of the reasons why I like the original strength resets. It works on helping you to reestablish your foundation for movement. And it has a nice impact on all of the traditional strength training exercises you know and love, like hinges, squats, pushes, pulls, that sort of a thing. Then it's useful to do more specific warm-ups. So it might be, it could be trying to, free up your shoulders. Maybe you have tight shoulders, so you got to do a little something for that. But even then, like if you do something like hanging, a lot of times that helps people kind of solve some of their shoulder issues. Doesn't have to be the super woo-woo voodoo crap that you see, floating around all over the place.
Yeah.
And then lastly, I would say just kind of ease your way into your heavier sets. So let's say you're going to do some military presses with a 24 kilo bell. Start off with, a set or two with the 12 kilo. Then another set or two with a 16, maybe one with the 20, and then you jump into your regular stuff. That's as easy as it. That's as simple as it gets. Basically, just ramp up, right? Prepare your body to start moving. Ramp up to the stuff that you're going to be doing,
right?
And then go from there.
All right. Yeah, very, very, very good. And that's exactly how I think about it too. I think that you definitely want and should have a warm up. And the warm-up should be both general and specific. So to just reiterate your points, or I might even add a third category in there, which is general, specific, and individual. And what I mean by that is you have some type of like general global warm-up. Just get the body activated. We'll talk about some good examples of what that might be. You already pointed at some original strength work. I've got two specific routines I'm going to share here as we move along. So something general, right? Then something specific. And what does that mean? It means something that relates to your actual workout, right? So if you're going to be doing presses, then you need some type of pressing warm-up, right? Something that's going to like get that pattern itself warmed up, help you diagnose, make sure everything's feeling good before you get into the heavier stuff. And again, that could be something really as simple as just a couple of light test sets, right? As Aleks already hinted at. But then also maybe something individual, like thinking like, oh, I know personally that I have shoulder issues. So I'm going to just do a little extra something for that because that relates to just some individual issue that I have. So general, specific, individual. Keep it minimalist. My goal for myself and my clients is always, hey, let's not do like 55 minutes of warming up and then 5 minutes of a workout. Let's get the workout done. Make sure it does the job that it needs to do. So that way we can be not just safe, but a good warm up will actually make you perform better as well, right? It'll get you mobile where you need to be mobile. It'll get you stable where you need to be stable. So there will be performance benefits to a good warm up. And I think that's really important. So it's not just about not jacking yourself up, but performing well also. So general, specific, individual. Gentle listeners, thank you for tuning in, by the way. I forgot to give the initial shout out. So if you're here, hit the like button, headbutt the like button, smash it, subscribe, leave a comment. We may do some Q&A as we move along. So what do you think about that, Aleks? General, specific, individual?
I think it's perfect. I mean, again, there are certain things you need to keep in mind. Like everybody's barring some sort of an injury, because like as Dan John likes to say, everybody's got an asterisk by their name now. But barring some sort of an injury or something like that, we've all got the same 2 arms, 2 legs, torso, head, whatever. So it stands to reason that there are going to be certain movements that are going to appeal to just about everybody's physiology. And then there are going to be a few things that you're going to want to do to be a little more specific that pertain to the training that you're doing. And then finally, like you said, doing something a little more individual that might address an issue that you have that maybe not everybody has. So it could be something like, I don't know, like maybe your left wrist. Maybe you hurt it when you were younger, and now you got to spend a little bit more time opening it up before you can do push-ups. So I think that is a very, very good approach. You can think about it as like a pyramid. You've got your base, you've got the middle part, and then you've got the little point at the top. And the point is where you focus on the individual stuff. Base is obviously your baseline general movements that make you a human being. Mm-hmm. And then the middle stuff is pertaining to the specifics of your workout.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, let's get into specifics. So I've got one that I want to share, and we'll just share some ideas and give the gentle listener stuff to use. So a general warm-up that I've liked it for a long time, I think it works well for a lot of people, would be something like this. So we're going to do kind of 3 things. We're going to do a hang, we're going to do a squat, and we're going to do a bounce. So what would be an example of this? Well, Dan John, we know he loves his hang. So if you have a bar or a set of rings, I think a set of rings is perfect for this. You do a dead hang for some amount of time, up to 30 seconds-ish, I think is pretty good. Then you do some type of a squat. It can just be a resting body weight squat, or it could be a goblet squat at the bottom. And you just kind of gently begin to pry the hips open. So just spending time at the bottom of the squat, does a lot of good for not just the hips, but the knees, the ankles, the back, all of it. And I would actually recommend using a light kettlebell, because then at the bottom of the squat, you can kind of play around with different things. You can do the prying, you can do the heartbeats, right? Which really is good for the posture and the shoulders. And by a heartbeat squat, I mean, you're sitting in the bottom of the squat with a light kettlebell. You push it out in front of you. So you extend your arms. Ooh, just activates all the posture muscles, gets the shoulders firing, and you pull it back in. So again, maybe you do like 30 seconds of hangs. You do 30 seconds of something in the bottom of a squat, like heartbeat squats. And then I would recommend something like 1 to 2 minutes of a bounce. And the easiest thing there would just be jumping rope. Right? Just skipping rope. You could skip in place. If you got a mini trampoline, you can use that, but just something to get the blood really circulating and flowing, warm the entire system up. And I would just put that little loop on repeat, 2-3 rounds, or maybe just do it for 5 to 10 minutes. And you're going to feel pretty special and pretty good after that. What do you think of that little routine there, Aleks?
Yeah, I like it. And I think
I hate it.
Yeah, it sucked. The bounce thing, actually, I hadn't really considered, but that does make a lot of sense because, and interestingly enough, I do something kind of like that. I'll do like little bounces at the bottom of a squat. So it's kind of a mixture of the two of them, mostly for like pelvic floor activation stuff, because it helps with my deep breathing, diaphragmatic breathing. But yeah, by all means, I think that it's a very good approach. And you could do something also like, you could do some hopping if you don't have a rope to jump.
You could jog a lap or 2 if you've got a
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So the idea is hanging, something for the shoulders, squatting, something for the hips, predominantly, and then something to just get your heart rate up, just to kind of like the global warm up, if you will. What do you like then in terms of if we're in the general category now, Aleks? What would be something that you would offer to people in terms of like a general global warm up?
Well, a general global warm-up, again, I'm a big believer in the original strength resets. So that's typically where I would start people off. And the general philosophy that I have about using the original strength resets is that it's because it's the way that your body's made to move.
Explain this to people who might be unfamiliar.
Sure.
What do we mean by original strength resets?
The original strength resets, Original Strength is an organization that has systematized the human developmental sequence. So whatever you've seen, your kids, your nieces and nephews, your friends' kids, whatever. When you see them growing up, they start off as a little baby. All they can really do is breathe, right? Most people nowadays have very bad breathing patterns. They either breathe too much, they breathe wrong, like into the neck and chest. And so learning how to breathe normally is a huge benefit for yourself, as well as your health and your performance. So it's deep breathing, head control, we'll call it. So being able to move your head and neck around properly, rolling, rocking, and then crawling. So all of these movements lay the foundation for the later, more complex movements that we like to do in strength training and then athletic training. So I like to start off with these as a good general warm-up. But I also like to do some other movements for the global stuff. And again, it's, or we'll say the general warm-up type of things. And that is anything that your body's made to do naturally that we just almost never do anymore. So, Pat mentioned squatting. I think squatting is really great. I also am a big fan of hanging. And so I'll do a fair bit of hanging as part of my warm-up. The nice thing is not only does it help get the shoulders prepared, nice and warmed up, but it also helps to decompress the back a little bit. I know when I do it, I can feel like my vertebrae on my low back get a little extra space in them. I feel my thoracic spine or the mid back start to open up a bit too. So some stuff like this that hits a lot of stuff all at once and honors your body's movement design is going to be very good to keep in regular rotation. And obviously, your mileage may vary. You may need to modify things, in certain instances. But generally speaking, I think that following what your body is supposed to do naturally that we don't do often anymore is going to be a very good way of restoring your body in general and preparing it to move for the task at hand, which might be a vigorous and rigorous kettlebell and bodyweight work.
So Aleks, what would be like a minimalist, just couple minute sequence of some of the original strength moves that somebody could start playing around with?
Well, I would say laying on your stomach, you can rest your forehead on your forearms, breathing in and out through your nose. This is what we like to call crocodile breathing. If you're familiar with FMS, you will have experienced that in FMS as well. They do a lot of that. Yeah. And breathing in and out through the nose. So don't breathe out through the mouth. That's more common when you're doing kettlebell training. That's perfectly fine. That's just part of the the curriculum, as it were. But if you're just trying to breathe to relax in and out through the nose, really start to feel your stomach muscles, your sides, your low back starting to inflate with air as you're breathing in, and let that air work its way up to your chest, rather than letting it kind of pool in the chest as most people do. They'll breathe deeply, and it's just everything's in the neck and chest. Nothing goes down deep the way that it's supposed to. So start off like that. From there, prop yourself up onto your forearms, like in the old school TV watching position. For those of you who are too young to remember when TVs used to be on the floor and there were these giant blocks of tubes and wires and God knows what else.
That's right. That's how we played Nintendo back in the day too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We had great posture as well. So, make that connection because it's definitely there. So from there, simply going to be in that, let's say the Sphinx position or the old school TV watching position, propped up on your forearms. You can have them as far out in front of you as you need so that your low back doesn't complain to you. Just simply nod your head up and down, look over each shoulder. Do that, let's say 20 times, right? Next, go on your back. Arms over your head. They don't have to be straight over the head, but kind of basically out of the way. Lift your head, look to one side, and reach across, reaching with your head and with your hand. This is what's called a segmental roll. Very good for getting your entire body moving as a unit and also learning how to, segment it. So your legs are going to be relaxed. Your upper body is going to help or your head is really going to help you to kind of move your upper body and really fire up your midsection as well. This is especially important if you sit a lot, because I can guarantee you your core is not working the way that it's supposed to, particularly those little stabilizer muscles that are supposed to be protecting your back and all this other good stuff. They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Finally, you're going to get on all fours and you're going to just rock back and forth, right? So sit back toward your hips, rock forward on your hands. Just do that another 20 times and you'll feel like some of the muscles or all the muscles really between your hands and your feet are firing up, getting ready to help you move. And it's going to feel pretty good as well. Yeah. And it's also very, very soothing. And then lastly, just crawl in that position. Opposite arm and leg. So right hand, left leg, move forward. left hand, right leg move forward. Stay nice and relaxed. Keep your head up and repeat.
That's awesome. Shout out to Bill McGrath, who says, "Hey guys, thanks for the session. Thanks for being here, Bill. We appreciate it." So yeah, that's very helpful, Alex. I like that. It's very developmental, right? Just starting with the deep belly breathing. We then start with the head and neck movement. We get the full body involved, the segmental rolling. We start the rocking. We're crawling. We're good to go, right? We're rocking. So I think that would pair very nicely to do with something either if you wanted to before what I gave, or you could just kind of like alternate routines too. If people are just looking for just do this prescription, there you have it. One other thing I want to throw out there is I think light kettlebell work and kettlebell complexes can be really good warm-ups as well. So something for people's consideration, a nice complex I think is really useful. And you could take any one of these exercises, but in combination, I think it's good. Very light. So just very light kettlebell. Remember that we're not trying to do anything crazy here. Just enough that there's just some load. A very slow Turkish get up into a very slow controlled windmill into a very slow and controlled single arm overhead squat, and just put that sequence on repeat. So, I mean, the get up, working all sorts of magic, right? All the different angles, all the different joints, stabilizing, mobilizing. We know the get up by itself, even just light weighted or unweighted get ups by themselves are a great sort of global warm up. However, pairing, once you get to the top of the get up, if you then hit a windmill, it's money. It's absolute money. Going to get that extra thoracic rotation, going to get that extra hip hinging movement in there. And then the single arm overhead squat is really friendly because even if you're kind of restricted in terms of mobility, it's easier to get down into a single overhead squat with one kettlebell than it is obviously the double overhead squat with either two kettlebells or a dumbbell. Now, if you're too restricted and you can't do the overhead squat, bring it down to the rack and just do a single side rack squat, deep goblet squat. Again, works wonders for the hips, the knees, the ankles. Come out of the squat, press or push press the light kettlebell back up, hit another windmill, reverse get up, right? So to repeat, it's a get up, windmill, overhead squat or rack squat, come back up, another windmill, reverse get up. And just, do that however many times you want on the right, switch sides, do it however many times on your left. And that's going to check a lot of boxes in terms of like general warm-up. You're going to hit pretty much everything you would want to hit. Shoulders, hips, knees, going to get the core activated. And if you keep a flow with it, you're going to get the blood flowing. You're going to get the heart rate up. So that would be another resource for all of the gentle listeners there. Does Aleks approve? That's the question. Oh, he approves. Big time. Stevie B, let's give a shout out to him. He says, it's the big boys. Got to head back to the grind. Looking forward to listening later. That's right, Aleks. We did not even announce ourselves as the big boys today.
People ought to know. And if they don't know by now, well, thank you, Stevie B, for using our correct nickname.
Yeah. Well, Aleks said he was a little pooped today. In fact, he didn't say he was pooped. He's worse than pooped.
Yeah, I'm diarrheaed. That is extremely pooped.
All right. Well, let's get into specific warm-ups now. I don't know if there's a whole lot else to say this aside from what's be said. So get the general stuff done. Get the global activation, mobility, all that. Get the heart rate up. It is good to get the heart rate up a little bit. You do want to do that. Now, obviously, you don't want to do like something so intense that you're going to like fatigue yourself to the point that you're going to lose performance. But that's generally not a worry with anything that we've talked about. Like a mild intensity to get the heart rate up, get the blood flowing is going to be beneficial for your performance. It'll probably increase your energy too. That's what I noticed. Like sometimes people are really tired. I say sometimes, like a lot of times people are not just pooped, right, Aleks?
That's right.
But what you find is that, movement begets movement. You start moving, you start doing some of these general warm-up routines. And what you'll find very often, not always, but very often is your energy increases as you get the heart rate up, and you'll have more motivation to then go smash the weights. For the specific stuff, again, look what's on the menu and start doing whatever is appropriate for. If you've got heavy pressing ladders, then you need to get a light kettlebell and you need to groove that press for a couple reps and just make sure that nothing is feeling funky, that nothing needs a little extra special love. And then gradually get up to your working weight. Same thing with front squats. So, maybe start with some goblet squats. Then, just be gradual, especially if you're really going to be pushing the weight. If you're doing a heavy strength workout, be prudent there. You don't need to do like 25 gradual warm-up sets. That's a waste. But, 2 or 3 specific warm-up sets goes a long way to make sure that your performance is on point and that you just don't jack anything up. So whatever you're specifically doing, you need to translate that into your warm-up by just doing that pattern for some number of reps with a relatively light intensity. Anything else you want to say about that, Aleks?
No, I mean, I think that that really does cover quite a bit. A lot of people, again, complicate mobility. They complicate warm-ups. If you're moving the way that your body is made to move, if you're using a full range of motion, if you are ramping up your effort levels, and again, I think this is especially important as you get older as well. It takes care of a lot of issues, and then from there, I think you can start focusing on the individualized things that you might need to work on based on your athletic or injury history and other things like that.
Other exercises, kettlebell specific, that I think are worthwhile to consider putting into a light complex or using as warm-ups. Let me just kind of put them out there for a menu. Halos are great. Halos where you hold the kettlebell upside down by the horns, you bring it around your head, you pop the elbows up. Awesome for shoulders. Windmills, we already talked about that. Turkish get-ups, we already talked about that. Another one is single leg deadlift. Single leg deadlift is just, opposite arm and leg, single leg deadlift, slow, controlled, awesome warm-up. Great for just, building stability, proprioception, balance, all that. So sometimes what I recommend and what I would recommend to others, especially like either before a workout or even if you just need like a light kind of mobility focused day, take those types of exercises, windmills, get-ups. What else did I say? Single leg deadlifts, lunges, single arm squats, goblet squats, like stuff that is really, mobility promoting, and just make complexes out of them. And the way you do that is, since it's a lightweight, you just do the exercises for time, like anywhere between 15 to 30 seconds per exercise. So for example, you could start off, you could even throw some swings in there. Some light swings is fine, right? Get the heart rate up. You might just start off with 15 to 30 seconds of halos each side, 15 to 30 seconds of windmills each side, 15 to 30 seconds of get-ups each side, or just one get up each side, 15 to 30 seconds of single leg deadlift each side. And then 15 to 30 seconds of single arm swings each side. And shoot, man, like that, like 2 or 3 rounds of that is not only a great warm up. If you just did that for 15 minutes, you're going to have a great light, conditioning workout. That's also going to do wonders for your mobility and joint health as well. So maybe we can finish with that, Aleks. Do you have any other just sort of complexes that could both function as mobility routines, but, have the nice added benefit of being a little calorie burners in their own right?
One of the things that I like is, again, I really am a big fan of the original strength resets. And if we want to talk about
how much are they paying you, man? I just want to know it right now.
Not enough. Sam, if you're listening, I'm only halfway kidding. No, but for real, particularly based off.
No, they're great. They're great. I love original strength, and Tim's such a good guy. So definitely, everybody check out their work. It's phenomenal. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and clearly, I'm a big fan as well because I keep bringing it up. I wish I could say that they paid me every time I mentioned it, but I just do it out of my love for
the charity of your cold, tiny black heart.
Exactly. But if we want to talk about it from the standpoint of a circuit, I think you've given a really good example from the kettlebell side of things. And so let's give another example, because you mentioned a great option earlier, which would be alternating between some of the stuff that I talked about and some of the stuff that you talked about. So if people were to do this, maybe every other week, they were going to change their approach, they would end up with some really good balance, some really good development of their general movement as well as their mobility. So one option would be, so you've got a good traditional route with what Pat talked about there, and traditional in terms of meaning exercises and movements that you're a bit more familiar with. But another one that I like, Pat, you and I have a video of us doing this, is crawling alternated with marching. So the great thing about this is that not only when you're moving,
we have a video. When did we do that? When did we do that video?
Oh God, this was 2015, I think. I'll send it to you. It's a very long time ago.
Keep talking. I'll see if I can find it and put it in.
Yeah, look it up. It's on my channel. So if you look at my channel, you might find it.
All right. Anyways, describe it to us.
Yeah. So in essence, basically, what you do is you alternate. It was I call it ladder, I think, or you call it basically. So I would do the marching and the crawling, and then Pat would tell me which one to do. And so if you're working with a partner, it's an especially nice one because you can kind of crank up the difficulty by how many times you have them move between crawling and marching. there's a weird phenomenon that happens where, it's not just a crawling and not just a marching, but it's that transition between the two that really, really amps up the heart rate, let's say. And the nice thing too is because these are such natural movements that engage basically every muscle between your toes to your fingers, and it's no exaggeration. If you see the link that Pat just posted, you'll understand.
I found it.
Yeah, you are really going to fire up just about everything, loosen up a lot of stuff, and you're going to get the heart rate up as well, and a lot of muscle engaged that you can start to use toward, whatever might be on the menu, whether it's pull-ups, presses, squats, snatches, whatever it may be. So that's what I would say.
All right. Well, Aleks, before we wrap up here, what do you have coming down the pipeline? What's going on at the Hammercast and everything in your world?
Well, right now I am.
Okay, that's it, folks. Time to go.
My Unbreakable challenge, which is actually, this is good timing because I am using it as a warm-up, but basically it's something that targets the big three issues that people tend to have, which is the hips, the shoulders, and the spine. And so it just shows you a couple of my favorite kind of avant-garde kettlebell and bodyweight movements to bulletproof all these areas and make it a little bit easier for you to push harder in your training without ending up, like a crippled zombie by the end of it. So,
love it. Well, we have your website now in the comments so people can check out that video and link up with everything you're doing. Let me give a final mention here to our show sponsor, Inverted Gear. With their cute little panda symbol, they're making kettlebells. They're awesome, and they're giving 15% off, automatic 15% off for anybody who wants to grab a kettlebell, which you definitely should because there's been a massive shortage, and they make awesome kettlebells. So expand your collection. Head over to invertedgear.com/discount/PatFlynn15. That's invertedgear.com/discount/PatFlynn15. 15% off, automatically applied. Can you beat that, Aleks?
You cannot.
You cannot beat it. So check it out. Like, subscribe, share with both of your friends, and we will see you on the next episode. Fare thee well. Fare thee well.
Adieu.